Hello and welcome to another episode of Hi, I Like Maths, which is all about how mathematics can improve our mental and intellectual abilities. So this is not a technical show. We're not going to talk about mathematics formulas or abstract stuff. We mainly discuss about problems, solutions, challenges, research and discoveries in the world of mathematics and its applications. My name is Linda. I am the host of the show. I completed a PhD in applied mathematics. I am a maths educator and the founder of Bungee Pie, which helps children learn mathematics using storytelling, animations, and real life examples. It also helps maths teachers and schools develop numeracy, problem solving skills, and critical thinking of their students. Today, I'm honored to have Dr. Ron Fuchs, who is mathematician, quantitative analysis, programmer, product manager, regional manager, CEO, consultant, director, investor, and photographer here. He's going to talk about life and education through maths lens. Let me give you a brief introduction about him first. Ron has built his career devising quantitative methods and creating analytical tools, mostly in the financial world. Ron has started his career building financial products for banks, and from there moved to develop risk management applications for banks and other financial institutions. His career led him around the world from Israel to Japan, UK, US, Singapore, and Australia. He has also spent a few years teaching computer science at James Cook University in Queensland. In recent years, Ron has been an independent consultant to companies, mostly startups and startup investors. He is also building up a career as a photographer. Ron is holding a Bachelor in Mathematics and Computer Science, Master in Applied Maths, and PhD in Finance. Welcome to my show, Ron. I actually wrote a booklet and I called it The Maths Mind recently, which I talked about the importance of maths in improving our mental and intellectual abilities. And I came up with a term called mathematic mindset, by which you can break any problem into smaller ones, provide solution to each of them, and then you connect your solutions one after another to solve your original problem. This is what I called mathematical mindset, and you can apply it for any sort of problem. It's not specifically related to maths problem, but that's what we normally do for solving a maths problem, that problem solving mindset. And by the way, this is free to download. If anyone is interested, just needs to go to bungeepie.com.au. So I'm really interested in this mindset because I think it helps you dealing with life challenges. And that's something that needs to be started and ingrained from school. When you start, first encounter problem solving and you learn it by maths and your creative mindset. So I would like to know your mathematical mindset as a very experienced professional who has been working on a wide range of problems. Tell me how you see life through it.
That is a tricky one because life has the part that is not always controlled by logic.
That's true.
And I think the first thing we need to do is to define the problems that are within our logical mind ability. Because when I go and speak to a person, or when I go and see a wonderful food and enjoy it, I don't think it involves my logical mathematical mind. So that's the part that I think we should be able to, because trying to apply this mathematical mind to other things, we're going up with Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory and a lot of other people like this. And I think that this is not the purpose. So the first thing we need to identify, I think, which part, and again, you ask me, why do I enjoy scuba diving? Or why do I enjoy photography? I think photography is a mixture of the two, but the enjoyment part has nothing to do with my logical mind or my mathematical mind. So I think the first thing is to separate and to understand which of the problem that you have is a problem of that requires this type of mindset, the mathematical mindset, as you call it, and which does not. And I think it's important to know not to try to use the wrong mind for the wrong problem. The problem, however, that we have is that the non-mathematical mindset, or I feel like, or it feels correct, we tend to use for where we really need mathematical mindset. So that's where the problem is. So me as a mathematician, I know, okay, this is the mindset that needs mathematics, and this is the state that does not need it. The problem is that I see that a lot of people where mathematics is needed still try to use what I call the pre-1915, pre-1500s type of mindset. So really, if you think most of our problem solving nowadays, most of our issues, we really don't think about them very differently than the way that person pre-Galileo, pre-mathematics, they thought about it in the 15th century and before that. And you see it all the time. Let's talk about something which is quite hot topic these days, and this is global warming.
You're right.
So global warming, I've had discussion with people that say it's always been like that. It's people that come and say it's never been so bad. And then I come and ask the people, how do you know? What are your basic axioms? What is the data that you are using? What are the assumptions that you are using? And this kind of thing, normally, there isn't. So everybody will just come and quote some kind of article in the fake news that they read, or in the real news that they can't even tell or judge. And they have really no argument except that I believe that it's always been like this. And that's the reason I'll find the argument that it's like this, and I find some excuse to explain it. And it can be with something that I agree with or disagree with. Or I believe that, the world is coming to an end because of global warming, because of climate change. This is my strong belief, and that is the reason that I'll find the researchers that support this, and I'll use them to justify my opinion. So the mindset is to try and figure out what is probable to be fact. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be an expert in every field. Definitely not in climate change. I don't know much about climate change. Not a climate change scientist. But the question is, what tools do you use to form an opinion on something that you are not an expert? Because it's impossible to ask you to be an expert in everything. Let's say big government against small government, evolution against creationism. I'm not a biologist.
Right.
And so how do you form an opinion? How do you try to figure out what are facts? When the facts, what to believe in? And this is, probably it's not a place to start explaining here the entire methodology. But this requires a very particular mindset to try and find out what is the underlying facts.
Right.
What are the underlying assumptions? How do you move from fact and assumption to conclusion? So there is a whole, and it's not that I end up always right. That's completely, I'm quite often wrong. But I had a way to test when all of a sudden the fact that something proves me wrong or proves some of my assumption wrong, I know that they're my assumption. I know that it's the underlying data. I can change my conclusion based on that. And this is something that I think is very important because let's say with the COVID, I must admit that I was extremely wrong about the COVID for the first months. And then new data start coming, new assumptions start coming. My conclusion, the logical process stays the same. How do you move from axioms and assumption to conclusion? That stays the same. But when you change the underlying, you all of a sudden say, okay, I was wrong here. Let's check it. Let's come to a new type of conclusion. Right. And I think this is the mathematical mindset. It's basically you have a process, you have an assumption, you have facts, axioms, and how to move it. And when something changes, you reprocess. So you get closer and closer to something that is likely to be right. Unlike the normal, what I say, the pre-scientific way of thinking, you know what is right, and then you just pick up the facts in order to justify that you are right, and it doesn't matter, and you just toss away the other facts, and then you ignore everything, and whatever happens in the world, it doesn't change your conclusion. And I think this is something which is really, really important. And you know, and I mean, I'm quite active with, you know, with climate change, and to see people that it doesn't matter. It's bad for the business, climate change. So there's no climate change. Or some other people that believe that climate change is basically we're reaching the end of the world. And again, and no fact can change that. So basically, the process of using fact is for justification and not to come to conclusion. And this is, for me, the scientific mindset or the mathematic mindset.
Great. What are some pain points of being a professional, successful person? So tell me about the problems you've been facing so far, the major ones.
Okay, so here we have a bit of when you say, okay, professional, I suppose we all know, and okay, and I suppose that I'm professional in the sense that I, you know, did work and got money for that. But successful, it's very difficult definition. You know, for some people, I'm very successful, you know, but what is the criteria of success? Let's say financially, for Bill Gates, I'm not successful. Artistically, probably for Picasso, I'm not successful. You know, for Buddhists, from happiness level, I'm not successful. So I'm not really, I'm not really sure that I know a good definition of success, except for some kind of a feeling which is subjective. So I think it's better to try to look more like as a professional rather than that. That's a bit easier, I think, to define. And I think the main thing is I really wanted to be a scientist, not necessarily an academic scientist, but I really wanted to be a scientist. And actually, when I started, I was very close to a scientist. You know, like I was an analyst. I looked at data, looked at opportunity, built. So there is a lot of part of scientific world. And for many years, I tried to avoid management.
Right.
And I find that the pain point is that as soon as you're successful at something, you're trying to be pushed into management.
Right.
And
is there a particular reason why you were trying to avoid it, or it's just like it wasn't?
Because that's not what I like doing. You know, like it's one. There is a huge difference between writing a program and managing 100 people who write programs.
That's true. Yeah.
There is a difference between going and to a client and analyze the problem and find a creative solution to the problem, to basically managing the commercial and having a team of 30 consultants that basically run and do this kind of things. So the question is, what do you like? And if you like solving the problem and, you know, solving the technical problem, it's not that management is not challenging. It's a completely different type of challenge.
That's true.
And the problem is, I find in the corporate world, that if you become good at something, they want you to manage it. And for me, it was very difficult because I kept fighting against it. And eventually, when I felt fighting against it, I had to resign and move to a different place that agreed to take me as on a non-management role. And that's a continuous fight, that you want to focus on what you do, and people want to try to promote you to management, which I consider to be, you know, I like that, you know, it's more money and it's, you know, more a better reputation and stuff. But so eventually I gave up and became a manager. And, you know, I went all the way to become a CEO. But this was never my passion. I always fell back into, I really want to solve this kind of technical problem. I want to understand this formula. I want to create a formula, create a process for that.
Oh, great.
So I think for me, the main problem was that you're getting further and further away. The more you are promoted, the more senior you become, you're getting further away from what you're passionate about.
Right. I get that, and it's very challenging, right? If it's not, your cup of tea, you don't feel comfortable with it, because this is literally two different styles, and it requires different skill sets.
And even if you can do it, the question is, what do you enjoy? If you
yeah.
enjoy sitting and solving a problem, or enjoy talking to other person that or you need to present somebody else's solution because your job is to get money out of the solution. It's a completely different. It's a completely different. And some people love it, and some people are very good at it, and and you definitely, it's a very important role. But I think that it's not my cup of tea. It's not what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, no, I do get that, and I think most scientists are like that anyway. So they like to be in their own world and dealing with all this, thinking, creating. That's something that they do value, and putting them in a completely different role, as dealing with people. And I know some mathematicians got freaked out of see people, and if they meet like more than 5 people a day, they start getting crazy. I know such people.
Well, it doesn't have to be. I know some mathematicians that could be very good managers. I don't think I was very bad either, actually, I must admit. But and I think that the mathematical mindset thinking, the way of thinking clearly about the problems, I think it helps a lot in management as well. So I can definitely see it's very beneficial scientific or mathematical mindset. I think it's very helpful in management. But management is more than that, or it includes this plus a lot of other things. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive at all. But I think they basically help each other. And I think that eventually it's a matter of passion more than a matter of abilities. Because I know, the scientists that cannot communicate with people, stuff like this, it's a stereotype. But I know mathematicians that can communicate with people very well. And on the other hand, I know managers who cannot communicate with people, and they're not mathematicians at all.
Yeah. No, I met so many of them. I'm personally quite an odd one as well, because I love talking to people, and I love that social aspect of being and talking with being in social environment, and connect with people. I do enjoy that, and I'm a mathematician as well.
You see? But,
yeah.
And you're building a company now, so you're eventually going to end up to be a business person as well.
Because you have to love talking to people, and advertise. I will market your idea, market your product. That means you should love it. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful in it. That's how I look at it, at least. And I think when you tap into the business world, and communication and connection is something that you enjoy. This is how I perceive it. So, and I like that anyway. All right, cool. So, what would your advice be to your 14 years old self? That's going to be your next question.
I think it's a direct continuation from the previous one. I think it is find what you are passionate about, stick to it, and be as good as you can. And because look at nowadays, like successful people. Successful people, you can, a lot of people, if you study accounting, okay, so you'll get a job, you'll be an accountant for the rest of your life, and you can do that. Are you passionate about it? But if you're really passionate about something, whether it's, writing the best book, but passionate is not enough. you're passionate and you decide, you make a decision to become the best you can at it. That's what I'm trying to do with photography now. Okay, I've been doing it for 2 years, but it's not enough. But the whole idea, you have a passion, just be the best at it. And if you are the best at it and you're really doing well, I believe that you will find a way. You'll find living, you'll make living there and everything like this. But then you're never going to regret it. I'm looking at a friend of mine, like a childhood friend of mine,
Right.
who really liked reptiles.
Right.
So he, until today, is one of the leading reptile researchers in the world. The guy never finished actually any kind of academic degree. He just became completely passionate about reptiles and found his way as a reptile expert around the world, working for zoos, working for research institutions, for medical institution and stuff like this. I have a friend who used to love flowers and stuff, and I just discovered after years and years, it was a primary school friend. After many years, I discovered that he has a very successful nursery, and I discovered for somebody completely different, some kind of from a Japanese friend of mine that basically is interested in gardening. So the person is worldwide known for a particular type of plants that he sells around the world and stuff like this. And I think find what you're passionate about, do it, and do it the best you can. Be the best at it. I think that's the most important thing. If you manage to do that, I suppose that your chances of success are much better if you do something that you don't like and you do it just because you think there's money there.
Yeah. And sometimes I do believe in that, and I'm kind of I think I've been following my way through my interest and my passions so far, and I found it fairly challenging. So it's not an easy thing, because it's something that you constantly need to work on and build that up and stick to it. And life can throw different things at you to stop you. There's so many roadblockers around. But if you really believe on the things that inspires you, and you think that you can handle difficulties and challenges, I do think at the end of the day they're worth it. But also I know so many people, and met so many people actually talk about their own interest, their own passion, but they never put in any effort toward that direction. And just because of safety and security, just because of making money, they try to kind of stick to what they've pretty much what they've been paid for, rather than what they're actually passionate about. So yeah, I think if you could have a world in which people could do exactly what they were really interested in, and building up kind of a life around it, I would say we could have quite a more progressive society, and more enjoying life, at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm quite aware of time, but I'm going to ask this last question because I would like to know if you have any checking rituals you would like to share with us.
I'm not sure that ritual is the right word, but I make sure that whenever I do something, I keep checking myself periodically why I do it, and that I don't do it just because I started and I forgot to stop. And I keep checking all the time where could have gone wrong. Because, and this is, I keep putting myself and say, has anything changed in the assumption? Do I know things now? Have I done anything? Because it really scares me. I've seen people, individuals, I've seen companies, I see countries, like societies do the same thing. You start with a certain path, and the path become your path because you started it, and it becomes a self-perpetuating. I'll just give you an example, and I don't know if I should give an example, because it's getting to politics. But but I think it is relevant because it's a way of thinking.
Right.
When Howard in the late 1990s decided that he wants to follow the American model and move from a bit more socialist Australia to much more capitalist Australia, and it doesn't matter if you agree with him or not, he had something clear in mind. America at that time was a great model because they were looked like they were successful, they were prosperous, they were the leading country, etc. And he decided to try and copy that. Now, whether you agree with it or not, it's irrelevant. We are now 20 years later. A lot of things have happened in America. So the question whether we should keep following the American model, seeing where the American model led America, it's definitely a question that we should ask ourselves. Maybe we said that we like where America is today and we want to become like that. Or maybe we say, okay, now we know much more about America and maybe we should reconsider. I don't give any answer here, but I say that underlying assumption that America is a sure model to copy because they are doing so well has changed. So our thinking should be basically considered. And that's what I do all the time. But we don't reconsider because we started this path and this path continue, and I don't know for how long. And this is something really important. Something changed in the world, changing the way you did the work because of what you did, because external event, it doesn't really matter what the reason. You have to keep checking yourself all the time. Don't stick to something just because because you started it. And I think this is my probably ritual. Keep looking at what you're doing, keep looking at the underlying assumption, keep looking at the facts, and keep checking if what I do makes sense or not. And if not, change it.
I'm pretty much sure you have a lot of things to do, so I'm not going to take that much of your time, more of your time. So I really appreciate the time you set it up for our chat and to be part of this show. I'm pretty much sure you have a lot to say, so I would like to invite you more even to join this show again and talk about more interesting stuff.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
People, thank you for listening to another episode of Hi, I Like Maths. If you think you have anything interesting related to mathematics and its applications, please contact me on admin@bungiepi.com.au. Please subscribe to our channels at YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Till the next episode of Hi, I Like Maths, be a maths lover.